The views and opinions expressed on This Can't Be Adulting are solely those of the host and do not represent or reflect the views of any individual, organization, employer, or entity we may be affiliated with. The content of this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Listener discretion is advised. Yo, welcome to This Can't Be Adulting, the podcast where two guys who probably should have it all figured out absolutely don't.
Careers, money, relationships. No one handed us a manual, so we're figuring it out the only way we know how, with real talk, deep dives, and a whole lot of laughs.
I'm Herb.
And I'm Derek. And if you're out here wondering, am I doing this right? Trust us, you're not alone.
So hit play, relax, and let's figure this out together. Yo, welcome back to an episode of This Can't Be Adultin. Derek, how was that intro right there?
That shit was just funny.
I'm just behind the scenes. The editing.
It's going to be interesting. The editing was looking interesting on the last one, too. It was a damn doozy.
Was that the third or second one?
That was the second one I've done on my own.
Yeah,
I didn't hit you up as much this time.
You did not. And you actually pulled off a miracle.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't look like a kung fu movie last episode, you guys. Derek pulled off a real, true.
Pure luck.
Sometimes better be lucky than good.
100%.
There we go.
That sucks. It was pure luck. That was pure luck.
Oh, well.
Oh, man.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Next episode. We keep banging these out.
We have been pretty. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, we missed a week, and again, sometimes we're going to miss weeks, yo. When I tell you, it'd be hard to, really, because, we be scheduling shit, and I just be forgetting. Like, for example, when we scheduled to record this one last week, because we didn't record last week.
Right.
We couldn't record.
Right.
And my CEO had asked me in the middle of last week to go to Las Vegas with him for a conference earlier this week.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got a nonprofit board meeting Thursday night, and I just forgot I had it. And then you were like, all right, let's record next Thursday. And I was like, yeah, we can record next Thursday. And I was just thinking about Vegas, and then I just forgot.
Yeah.
And so kind of pushed everything back. But that should be happening all the time, man.
It comes here so fast. I feel like, all right, Thursday, like a week away. It's like, all right, yeah, plenty of time, scheduled it out. All right, here we go. And then it's like next thing I look around, it's Tuesday. I'm like, holy shucks, bro. Let me make sure we're ready for the episode this week.
And that should just be draining with everything else.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that this is difficult, but Herb has to drive all the way over here. It takes a little while to even get set up to do the recording. Yep. And we already told you about editing.
Man, we ain't trying to hear all that shit, man.
Yeah, we already told you that. Yeah. No, you're right. My bad. My point is we apologize if we're not releasing as often.
There we go.
We're doing our best.
We are, and there will be improvements. To come.
We'll figure this out. We got to try to make this shit a priority because it's something we actually enjoy doing, and I hope you guys do too.
Yep. That said. Mm-hmm. Today we have an interesting topic.
Interesting. It's a bit of a somber topic. Two things. First, I will say, in your and I's lifetime, today is definitely a day that we all remember where we were. True.
We're recording this on September 11th, so the podcast come out a few days later. But this is September 11th that we are recording this. So, as you all know, never forget. September 11th. Derek and I have talked about this on previous episodes where we were during that time. Yep. So it's always a day that it's just so funny. I can look back on that and think dang, it was 24 years ago.
24 years ago.
That's crazy. It doesn't seem that long, but it does seem that long.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that was crazy.
Yeah. We won't even go into where we were, though. We have talked about it, but we got to acknowledge it. Yep. Moment of silence for all of those. We can do, Matter of fact, just going into our topic of discussion today, it's about the Second Amendment.
Which is very interesting.
Which is very interesting because Herb wanted to talk about this 2 weeks ago because there was a school shooting that happened.
Yes. Yep.
There was a mass shooting that happened, and then given with everything that happened yesterday,
September 10th, 2025,
the shooting in Denver, another school shooting. Charlie Kirk getting assassinated,
which is crazy to see. Anybody to watch that video, that's so crazy to see.
That was bananas, and we talked a little about it. So it makes sense for us to address the gorilla in the room and talk about that. My point is, we're saying this. I would like to start off with the moment of silence to those that have been lost to gun violence in general, not just this week, not just last week, this year, but just over the history of this country and in this world. So if you're okay with doing a 30-second moment of silence, I will time it.
All right.
And for our viewers and listeners, you're going to hear some sounds because that's what a moment of silence is. So we'll start here now. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that, Chuckle. Good job. She was dead silent. Yeah, I was actually in the planning process in my head. I was like, I kind of want to do that for this podcast. And so, but anyways, Herb, where should we start, man? Because there's a lot going on, like we stated.
Well, I think in true This Can't Be Adulting fashion, I think it's always important for us to start out with, maybe your upbringing or your first experiences with the Second Amendment, kind of what impact, if any, it had on you growing up. When did you first, come to even have any viewpoint on gun ownership and things like that? So let's start there.
And I'm not gonna say it's a tough question because the reality is that I didn't really have any relation to the Second Amendment because my family, no one's ever owned a gun in my house. Like, that's just the reality of it growing up. It was to the extent that I understood the Second Amendment was based off of what I learned in civics classes, social studies classes, history classes, that we had the right to bear arms. Right. And my understanding was always that was put into the Constitution because of British tyranny, of the British government overreaching the United States and the United States colonies not having a way to fight back. And so they wanted to make sure that as they created this institution, this country, they wanted to make sure that all United States citizens could have a way to fight back against a tyrannical government, point blank. Noble causes, but the reality is that shit has clearly changed, right?
Well, I would say the reality is that ain't even real why the Second Amendment was originally created.
It's a good point.
It's almost like when they say that slavery wasn't for Civil War wasn't over slavery, it's over state rights. It's one of those things that's kind of been whitewashed too. At the same time, with the free of the country, when I did a little bit more research, that the Second Amendment was really wrote out. James Madison was the person who wrote the Bill of Rights. Head of this in Virginia was that people in the South were afraid that the slaves were going to rise up and become insurrectionists. So they wanted to make sure that they would be able to have a way to fend that off. And at the time, when we were saying the right to bear arms, and if you look at the actual way it's written out, it's like the people have the right to bear arms. Blacks weren't considered people at the time.
Of course
and it was
not.
Never intentional for black people to be able to own the right to bear arms. But we got here now. Every U.S. citizen wants, through civil rights and things like that. All citizens are able to bear arms. But originally, it was not written so that we could protect ourselves from the uprising of the military, which was never going to be the case anyways. Like, if you look at, we can go into this, but like, how are we going to go up against drones and all the satellite technology
at this point? What
are you talking about? But anyways,
at this point,
it was out of the fear that the slaves would rise up in the South.
I don't doubt that. I'm actually embarrassed that I didn't even know that or think of that. That's
I only do this because
I believe it 100%.
I had listened to a few podcasts, did some research on it. I was like, that makes a lot more sense.
Makes a lot more sense.
The whole fighting against our, rise up against our own government was never made sense to me. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I think it made sense back then. Because I think, like Obama said once, he was like, they were fighting with bayonets and horses back then.
Very true.
Where the military grade weaponry was the same weaponry that you could have.
Yeah,
now this shit don't make sense.
Yes,
if the government or if the police want to take you out, it don't matter if you have a couple of fucking...
They don't have to show up and drone strike.
Yeah, it's over. It don't make sense now. But I think back then it made a little bit more sense. But to your point, I agree. Like, I believe that it wasn't necessarily for that. It was just to keep from slaves uprising. That makes so much sense.
To have it now, you're like, oh, okay. Now I see why people hold on to this so dear, and that's why so much fear. And I understand what people. I understand the fear of like, oh gosh, how you control a group of people if you don't have a firearm and they decide to rise up. And if you're on a plantation, if you're a plantation owner or slave owner back in the day, and it's even if it's 20 of you and your crew, you're talking about hundreds of slaves.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they could easily overwhelm you if you don't have some type of mass casualty type of tool
That they don't
i.e.
have.
a gun that
Yeah.
they don't have. And
Yeah.
that's what
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, but
So going back to that, like that was to the extent of my understanding of the Second Amendment, and just my relation to it. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. I didn't like that wasn't a discussion.
Even people like around the neighborhood didn't have guns.
I mean, there were kids in my neighborhood that had guns, but it wasn't because of the Second Amendment.
Obviously not.
It was completely different. So I had seen guns and stuff like that.
Okay.
But like even that, like it wasn't like I saw it. Like I'm not gonna say and pretend like I saw guns all the time. Like there was some gun violence around my city, but it wasn't like anything crazy that I understood it, at least from that perspective. So that was honestly to my extent. It was kind of I had no relation to it.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way I can put it. So I don't really have an opinion on what I felt and what I thought, and I don't think that opinion really developed until I got much older, until I got past my high school and my college years, when I really started to get more ingrained. We had this conversation around politics when we had that episode, kind of around that time. So that's all the information I can give you. So I'll stop there, see if you have any questions, but also kick that over to you again.
One quick question I was going to ask: have you ever shot in a gun? Do you know how to use a gun?
Well. That's a very...
I guess that is two different questions.
Do I know how to use a gun? Yeah, you pull the trigger, I suppose. But, like, yes, I have shot various guns here in Texas.
So growing up, you didn't shoot guns?
No, I didn't do any of that. That's what I mean. I had no relation to it. The first time I shot a gun was when I just graduated college. Okay. 2000. I graduated college December 2007. The keeper from my soccer team got married. He's from out here. He's from Branham, Texas. So right in between Houston and Austin.
Okay, yeah.
Right in the middle. And I was part of his wedding party. So we came out here, and what we did was we went to a shooting range. We shot a bunch of shit, like a bunch of guns, like serious guns.
Oh, yeah.
I was shooting clay pigeons, and I was fucking nice with it, too. Mm-hmm. I was nice with it.
This bitch, Jake.
Yeah.
Training day.
I digress. So yes, I have shotgun. And I'm pretty sure I shot guns after that. I want to say one more time.
Yeah.
And I say this to say like that. Like that's it. I've never really shot more than that. And I was good when I was at those times, but it was a 1-time 2-hour thing. It wasn't anything like.
Right.
So do I know how to shoot a gun now? Probably not the proper way, I suppose, but.
Man, it's a proper way to shoot.
Oh, there is. You should go to class for that. Yeah.
Somebody may have.
Yeah, somebody
on the show may have.
We have talk about Choco, you shooting guns, girl? Heard you're the one.
Right? No, but for me, like growing up, like in the South.
Yeah, you're from Arkansas.
Man, guns was everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Like guns. Now, I will say this: my dad, being from California, he was not on the gun stuff. He didn't like having them in our house, so we didn't even have guns inside my home growing up. However, like all of my relatives had guns, and like just like people hunted. Like so, like
I was just gonna ask, what was the reason they're having guns?
People hunted. People just loved. People just had guns. People wanted guns. People were firm believers in the Second Amendment rights. So you had all those. So like for me, being around guns growing up, seeing them, shooting them, like it was nothing. Like I really didn't think of it. Now I was saying, like I say, inside my home, my dad really just wasn't a person that really. He didn't want to have guns in the home at the time, so we just never had guns inside our home really growing up. But far as myself, like I said, I was shooting pretty much on a regular basis anytime I was at home.
You were shooting every time you were home. Okay. So you had a relationship with the Second Amendment.
Yes.
I don't want to say you had a relationship with guns with the Second Amendment, but for you it was more so hunting.
Yes.
Was it hunting or was it self-protection?
Mostly hunting, because we're talking about people that had. You're talking about shotguns and like 30-06 like rifles, and like specifically for hunting. There were handguns. People also had handguns as well, but you didn't see them brandished as often as like a shotgun or a hunting rifle, in the sense that like even in growing up or even in high school, or even going through school, like you would see gun racks like on students' trucks. So like you weren't supposed to have your gun on the gun rack once you come onto campus, but that became very that rule or whatever didn't really become to be enforced until I would say the early 2000s as I was starting to come into high school. But prior to that, people were bringing their guns on campus, and it was just like nothing. You didn't even think anything of it really. Like it was crazy.
I got so many thoughts, questions, and things are just popping up in my head. I'm like, oof, okay. To you though, this was something that you thought was just completely normal.
Yes.
Growing up.
Yes.
Is this something that you thought that was normal for just U.S. life? Did you ever think about what is it like around the world?
I never thought about that. Not even when I got to college did I start to kind of like realize, like, because I went to Iowa, people just didn't carry guns like they were where I was from. Because we're talking about, people started thinking like urban city, like everybody carried a gun. Like when back in Arkansas, like every white guys, black guys, women, males, like everybody was carrying guns. So it wasn't foreign to me. However, once I got out and started seeing other people from different areas, and they was like not kind of a lot similar to yourself, like they just didn't grow up around guns like that. Yeah. And like, but the kids from Iowa, they had the same experience. They grew up around guns and things like that. But just having some of the kids that coming from New Jersey, the Northeast, they have much more stricter gun laws. They weren't raised around like guns. Like, of course they knew about it and gun violence they probably had to deal with. But yeah, that was till I got to college was when I first started to see like other people didn't have the same type of gun right.
Yeah, because it's completely different in the Northeast. To your point, it's much more liberal up there, and so the gun laws are much strict.
Yes.
Now you could obviously own guns, but I think that's why I didn't really have a relationship to it, because I did grow up in the Northeast. And to be honest with you, what really molded or created this idea that I had of guns was through culture, was through TV, was through movies, or through music.
It wasn't like a responsible gun ownership.
It wasn't a responsible. It was all about, I'm going to go drop you because blah, 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 blah. So I always had kind of a negative. It wasn't like, oh, I need, like, it wasn't like, oh, I want this because I want to protect myself from, again, what they used to say in the Second Amendment, tyranny from the government. It wasn't like I need to go hunting. Like, I never went hunting. Like, that just wasn't a thing. So it was very much like molded by what I saw in popular culture, and that was very negative to me.
Especially growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, and I mean, that's heavy drug influence, that that type of culture there. So I definitely understand it, because I saw the same thing. Like when you talk about, I'll ask this, like when did gun violence become something that was
great question
that you started to see or understand?
Great question. To be quite honest with you, it was through the hip hop culture, and it was my remembering of Tupac and Biggie.
Oh yeah,
and that being like, like they got shot up in their cars. Like that was like really big, and me really remembering. And I brought this up too before when we were talking about death and grief. Selena. She died she got shot.
Right.
And like, that was like my first remembrance of like, oh, like, okay, this is all negative. None of this was self-defense, or it wasn't, not advertised, but it wasn't reported on as self-defense. It was just like these one-off incidences that were happening in urban areas. And that was kind of my first impressions, or my first, hearing about gun violence. I will tell you the other major one that really shook me to my core was when mass shootings really started becoming a thing. 1999 Columbine.
Oh yes,
14 years old.
I remember that.
I remember that vividly. April 20th or April 19th, 1999. I was on a flight to Nebraska to go see my sister for the last time that I saw her, and it was all over the airport.
Yes,
mass shooting in Columbine. They were showing kids jumping out of like the windows of the things, and I remember that being very clear, because that was one of the most prolific is not the right word, but one of the most infamous mass shooting events that kind of all of a sudden it started happening.
And I feel like that was like almost the jump start of what we come to see now today, to where when that happened, that was everywhere, everything shut down. And unfortunately, like we just mentioned earlier, that there was literally a gun shooting yesterday, and that's not the one that's dominating the news cycle.
Nope, not at all.
And it's crazy that we've gotten to the point to where you see a mass shooting at a school and kids actually get killed by their classmates or by former classmates, and it's numb. It's like there's no it's normal. I'm numb to it now. It doesn't take over long. It may go for a day, but Columbine lasted for weeks. The people were looking
months.
at. I remember like the trench coat mafia. This whole
Yeah.
wearing trench coats was a thing. And then shortly after that, I don't know if you remember, but in Jonesboro, Arkansas, there was a shooting at an elementary school where they pulled the fire alarm. The kids ran out, and the person was out in the woods, started shooting. And I remember after that happened, it caused a lot of like panic in Arkansas within schools, and started like gun violence and being like, man, if somebody pulled a fire alarm, do we run outside? What do we do? And it was like there wasn't like we weren't doing mass shooting drills or gun drills or anything but that was the first time you started thinking about those types of things. So it's just so funny to see like living through that experience of, I would say, the start of mass shootings and things like that. And then after that you started hearing about gun rights, and then we kind of went down the whole road of like
it got super wild. And for me, the reality is that I've always had a negative connotation on guns. It was never there was never anything positive. There was never, like these Second Amendment gun nuts, like there's a positive thing to it. Oh, I do it for hunting, or I do it for self-protection. And I don't know if you want to consider that positive, but what I mean is like there's a want to have a gun because there's a need that they're thinking they have. Yes. And for me, this idea of having a gun was always negative from when I was younger, and it just continued to get even more and more negative with the amount of gun violence that I have seen and heard in that span time. To your point with regards to, the fact that kids nowadays literally have shooting drills in schools.
It's crazy.
Kids are scared to go to school. Like, it's insane. But I remember we didn't have shooting drills when we were growing up, but I do remember after that Columbine thing, kids would start making fun or be scared of like the weird kid.
Yes.
Like, I remember with this one kid at my school, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but like he would always get picked on. Big dude too. And he came to school with a duffel bag once. Everybody was terrified. Bro. Everybody was like, yo, homeboy about to shoot up the whole, like jokingly. And this was probably like 2 years after Columbine, because Columbine happened my freshman year of high school. So this is probably like junior year of high school. And I remember that being a thing, but that was never anything that we used to think of before Columbine happened.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I guess my whole point is like the whole gun thing for me was just very much like there's no appeal. There's no draw. There was no draw for me. And it's only gotten just worse and worse. And you and I have had this discussion on whatever, and going like, no, we'll get into it a little bit why and like what my thought process is with regards to, why everyone thinks that they need a gun nowadays. But like, again, to my point, like, I don't care for the Second Amendment. I never have, and I've always, not that I consider the Second Amendment, how should I say this? Let me talk about guns. Not that I think that no one should have a gun necessarily, but I personally just, it's only gotten more negative for me to having a gun, or even, there's no appeal, there's no allure for me.
I think especially considering where you look at the data, and there's a direct correlation between the number of guns that a country has with the gun ownership of citizenship within the country, and the gun violence. And it's the more guns you have, the more gun violence you're going to have. And I know you're going to see proponents of people be like, well, most of the crimes are committed with guns that are illegally obtained, or by people that were criminals, or by the one I hate the worst when it comes to mass shootings, like, oh, they had a mental health issue. Like, no shit, you had a mental health issue. You thought it was okay to go and shoot random people. Like, of course, but those are like type of things you hear people saying about. And I feel like, regardless of what they're trying to say, at the end of the day, the stats prove that the less guns you have, the less gun violence you're gonna have.
I mean,
and it's like,
you see it in all other countries. Like, I have it pulled up here. Let me pull it up right here, what the numbers look like. Because I was looking at this before, and we're talking about countries with like the highest, most strict are like countries with very restrictive gun laws: Japan, Nauru, Eritrea, and they have the lowest crime rate of gun crimes. Right?
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. Countries with very strict gun control, and also just a pretty low thing, but not a total ban, but like United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, all of them reacted after having mass shootings.
Yes.
I'm going to not segue, but I'm going to move on to the thing that you touched on that you said that made me want to think about this is made me bring this up, is that maybe it's twofold. Maybe it's the access to 24/7 news. I think that's a little bit of part to do with it. But like, we've always had a problem with guns in this country, particularly in more impoverished communities, which is black and brown. But no one ever made a sound about it when black and brown people were killing each other. But the minute that these white folks started getting killed in these mass shootings, it became very much forefront of a lot of the conversations.
Well, I think.
What do you think about that?
I think they had to be the forefront because, like, it just, in the sense of the news, when you have these mass shooting events, they are going to draw, like, people do want to know. That is something that, we are interested in. And the news's responsibility isn't for, like, public. It's not for the public safety. It's a entertainment vessel. So
that's what it turned into, especially in the 90s.
Yeah, it was entertainment.
That's what I mean. It ended up being entertainment things, and like I said, it ended up being. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad, like, I do gun violence doesn't matter what color your skin is we need to try to bring that down. Yes. But there wasn't so much being said about it. It was never being talked about before when it was happening within marginalized communities, which has nothing to do with the color of your skin more than it does that just black and brown people, marginalized communities tend to be the poorest communities. And when there's poverty, there is a higher rate of crime.
Well, absolutely. I mean, socioeconomics fall right into not all crimes, including gun violence. The lower the socioeconomic status of the community, the more crimes you're going to see, including those violent crimes, including gun crimes, including homicide. So, like, I feel like with that, like, why do you think it is that people are so reluctant to even want to address the issues, like the true issues
of gun violence?
Yes, or even admit that there is an issue.
There's a lot of indoctrination that's happened around guns, and a lot of that. This is all just opinion. I'm not stating facts here. This is just kind of, again, you're asking why do you think. So I do want to be clear. Like, this is not me actually knowing.
That's why the disclaimer at the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's why that disclaimer is. Well, sometimes we do say things that are based off facts, and we'll say it. But like, this is my opinion. Is like, we tend to forget how much control lobbyists have on our. Not just our politicians, but on the propaganda that is put in front of us as citizens.
Yes.
And once we were able to start injecting, when I say we, once this country, once the Supreme Court, once government started allowing corporate interests to insert unlimited amounts of money into politicians and into marketing campaigns, shit really divulged. And this isn't just around the gun stuff, but this is around plenty of other things.
Politics.
But we're talking about guns here. The NRA is an extremely powerful lobby.
Absolutely.
Extremely powerful lobby. And they not only control a lot of the politicians who control a lot of the message when they're on campaign, but they also actually control a lot of marketing out there.
Exactly.
You can fucking buy guns at Dick's Sporting Goods in Walmart.
I know.
That's insane. You know that, Walmart. You were in Arkansas. Like, you fucking know that.
In Texas, you can do this. You can go get you a gun in 20 minutes.
I think that's... sorry, guys. I'm trying to get comfortable. Of course, I'm messing this all up. I think that's a huge reason. Yeah. I think the biggest reason, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, is that this country, ever since the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act was passed, this country has been doing one damn hell of a job. Politicians, corporate interests, everyone involved to separate us. And what the message is that they keep telling us is, be careful, someone's coming out to get you.
Yes.
That person's going to get you, or that person's going to get you. Go get this high security system. And we're all taught not to trust each other. And when we're all taught not to trust each other, we're all fucking paranoid. And that paranoia says, I got to protect me, myself, and my family. And I got to go get this fucking gun.
Oh, yeah.
And now you have these liberals trying to take our guns away, which isn't necessarily the case. They're trying to take certain guns away. And yes, I'm sure certain liberals are like, but like, even having stricter gun controls, they're being told, oh, the government's being tyrannical.
Yes.
The government is trying to take away your Second Amendment right.
Here is going to be a slippery slope.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it hasn't really divulged as much as Second Amendment people are like, I want to protect against a tyrannical government. In reality, it's not that. They're scared that their neighbor's out to get them. Yeah. There's no more sense of community anymore. And if your neighbor doesn't look like you, even worse. And necessarily mean your direct neighbor. I'm just talking about your neighbor in any community in the city over there, like whatever the case is. And I'll be quite frank with you, I don't trust a lot of people out there. It's true. I genuinely don't. And I feel like I would like to more, but it's hard because I am being fed so many messages. So I think that's the major reason, to be honest with you. What are your thoughts?
I think it's so funny that because I say all this, I'll preface by saying this. I am a person that firmly believes in the second. You have the right to bear arms. And like I say, I grew up around guns. I'm somewhat familiar with firearms. I also understand that this fear mongering, this fear propaganda that's been put out there, like you mentioned, it drives you. Like people make decisions more so off
emotions,
off emotions, but even just fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and being in even in the sales, like growing up in a sales, organization, growing up in a sales culture, you're taught that people make decisions on fear.
We do fear.
Lead with the fear. They'll make decisions on fear. Don't lead on with the promise or the potential. No, lead on fear and sell on fear. And so I think it's as a society, as humans, we will make changes when it comes to fear. So the thing that if I'm afraid or if I'm scared of something, the easiest way for me to feel power or not be scared, quote unquote,
security or some level of security,
is to go out and get a firearm. Because I'll tell you, when you do have a firearm, there is a certain level of, I don't want to say power that comes with it, but there is a certain level of, okay, I'm ready now. I'm like, all right, nobody better try me now. Like, okay, yeah, I can defend myself and my people or my family and all that stuff. Now, when the truth of the matter is, if somebody's out there to shoot you and you're not prepared and you're not ready for it, you have no chance of getting to your gun for the most part.
Correct.
Which is shown. You're more likely that if you have a gun on you and somebody's trying to, rob you or whatever, you're more likely to get shot and killed in that situation, just because now we bring two guns into the situation, more guns, more violence, all those types of things. And that's what the stats say. But even then, again, as a person who believes in the Second Amendment and even exercises our Second Amendment right, it is just a level of feeling like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm ready now, even though I even logically know that if somebody just runs into my house and I'm asleep in the middle of the night, I have no chance.
No chance.
Basically. So
two things. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. You're spot on from that perspective. But I also think that it's very much a Western culture, society type thing. Talking about this fear mongering and this scarcity mindset where it's not enough. What I have for protection is not enough. Yep. So now it's not enough that I have my house and I can lock my door. I've got to go get a security system. It's not enough that I have the security system. I got to go get some dogs. It's not enough that I have dogs. Now I got to get a gun. Oh, it's not enough that I have one gun. Now I got to have two guns. And so it's this idea that what you have is never enough in terms of levels of security. And why I say that is literally what this country is based off, because it's the same reason why capitalism thrives. Because at the end of the day, we all think, I don't have enough. I got to go make more money.
Yes.
I don't have enough. I got to go do this.
Yes.
It's never enough for people. And they do this shit on purpose.
Yes.
They do this shit on purpose to keep us tired, to keep us paranoid, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to go back to the political conversation and all this shit because it all ties in with guns too. At the end of the day, it's a way to distract you from who really has the power up top and is fucking us all over. Yeah. Like, that's really what it is. It comes from up top. And I don't even necessarily talk about the government. I know they want to think that it's like the government is this like singular, non-infiltrated thing. And it's like, nah, dog, the politicians is just follow the money.
Yes.
It's whoever has the money,
Yeah.
whoever has the corporations are sitting here pointing the fingers and telling us, be scared of them, be scared of the immigrants, the trans people, be scared of your neighbor because they're be scared of this poor person.
Yes.
They're talking about you. They're telling you to be scared of people that have no power.
Yes.
That literally have no power.
But that's what the fear is. You got
That's
power.
what the fear is.
They don't have any power. They want what
go
you got.
get a little bit more
you
power.
Protect your power.
Go protect and this is exactly where. So that's my thoughts. Now I have a question for you because you go as someone that does believe in the Second Amendment. What do you mean you believe in the Second Amendment? What does that mean to you?
Okay,
you know what I mean?
I like you said there. I feel like you do have a right to protect your home, and by that I'm just saying, like, I will say this. If somebody is trying to break into my home, I'd rather have the gun than not have the gun.
Sure.
So that's what I mean. Like, you do have the right to protect.
And I said sure, not that I agree with that, but I know what he's saying.
Yeah. You have the right to protect your property, yourself, and in those cases. I feel that way. Where I draw the line on it is I will say it's because of the Second Amendment we call this a right. And we say these, God-given rights. And now there's no such thing as a God-given right. Like, there are no God-given rights. People in jail can't have guns. People on felons can't have guns. So it's not like a God-given right if it could be taken away from you. And I feel like, unfortunately, in America, we have a bad marketing when it comes to the Bill of Rights. It should be called the Bill of Privileges. And as Americans, we have abused the Second Amendment, that privilege. And I feel like there should be repercussions to abusing that. That said, when I say I believe in it, like you should be able to own it, but it should be responsible, and it shouldn't be as lax and as easy to access a gun. But it's one of those things, like if everybody has one, or everybody has them, then I feel like you got to go get one. And
that's what's going on, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
well, there's money involved in it, right?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
NRA knows they got that, and that's what they're doing it.
Huge economics around around firearms. I mean, it's not just 100%. From the firearms, but you're looking at, you have shooting ranges, you have insurance, you have several different things that are
many economies that come off of that. Hunting season.
There we go. You're selling this. Like all these types of things tie into it, but I also feel like, I don't know, something that we've been something that we have definitely abused that. But I do believe in that. But I was going to ask you this: was that, do you know anybody that's been victim to gun violence?
Yes. Died by suicide.
Okay.
I do know that. I'm trying to think if I know anyone. No
Which
one off the top of my head.
Number one leading cause, or number one way gun violence is suicide.
I think it's a little over 50%. So in looking at the numbers for 2023, I think was the last full year they have right now. They still haven't gone out with 2024, if I'm not mistaken. 46,000 gun-related deaths in the United States. 26,000 of those were death by suicide. So a little over 50%, which is crazy. Yeah. I don't know of anyone else personally, and if I do, I'm drawing a blank. But I have a cousin who witnessed somebody get killed. And I remember that was several years ago. But like me personally, no, nothing from that perspective, because no one I really fucked around with, hung around with, really had guns. At least not me knowingly. Yeah. So no, and if I'm drawing a blank, I'm sorry if I'm forgetting. If someone's like, "Yeah, Derek, you remember this about?" I don't know why they would, but how about I'm gonna throw that question to you.
I have several. Like it's so funny you say that, because I'm like,
well, because you're around guns all the time.
All the time.
Well, when you were growing up, at least.
Growing up, and I have several family members that got killed when it comes to gun violence. Even more, I won't say more recently, within like the last 7 years, had a cousin who was killed in the middle of the night. Someone knocked on his door, shot him, killed him. Unsolved mystery, or still a cold case. Nobody knows what happened. Even now, you saying you've never seen this. I was just at a party a year ago, November, back home in Arkansas, and unfortunately, a young girl got killed there.
You told me that story.
Yeah. And I literally saw a dead body right there. So it was just,
it's wild.
It's so funny because I'm like, oh, I'm so relaxed, and it's so, like, I'm all for gun rights, but yet you haven't had the same experiences where you've had to deal with gun violence. And I literally have had these personal experiences of dealing with gun violence, and I'm over here saying like, yeah, guns are okay. And that's literally perpetuating kind of the...
Yeah, it's what we're saying. Like, you grew up with it. They make you used to it. You get indoctrinated in a way, conditioned. Yep. When I say indoctrinated, but that's kind of what it is. You get conditioned. And then also because you have seen it, you're probably thinking, like we just said, and you kind of did say this, like, well, I want to be able to protect myself. Like, yes. I want to protect myself. Like, we've talked about this several months ago, and you were like, I'm going to get one because I want to have protection. And again, I'm of the no, and I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I just personally, I'd rather not have a gun in my house. Like, I don't want
that into that.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I don't have kids. I don't have kids yet. Yeah. And it is something I think about once I had kids, because the same reason my dad didn't want to bring a gun into our house, it wasn't necessarily like afraid that we would use it on somebody. He didn't want us to use it
on ourselves.
He understood the statistics. And it's something I think about, because based off the statistics, more than likely, if you have a gun in your house, the gun is going to be used on somebody in the house. And that's scary to think about. So it's like, how do you balance those two when you? It is crazy to think about. Because I'm saying for somewhere you like you don't have to balance it. Just don't get a gun. And I'm over here like, I don't know. You got to balance it out and figure out a safe way to do it.
Well, also, why I guess the other thing is too. Again, we're being told that someone is going to break into your house, and I know it's, and there's this. There's always going to be a group of bad people in this world who are just inherently born bad, and I think we need to stop aiming for perfection.
Yes.
And just understand that we can reduce crime and violence down so low, but we're never going to eliminate it all. Yeah. And I think because people go, oh, okay, we're going to reduce guns or we're going to get rid of guns, let's say. Let's just say, even though that's not what we're saying, but let's say we're going to get rid of guns. Yeah. And then people are like, well, this person killed my family with a knife. And they were like, but if I had a gun, I would have been good. And then there's this whole campaign about if you would have, and it's like,
knife deaths are gonna go up.
Or some shit like that. Or they're just saying I couldn't protect myself. And and again, I'm not saying that we have to. What's the right word I want to say? Because unfortunately, Charlie Kirk made a very unfortunate comment back in 2023, stating that unfortunately we're gonna have to deal with gun deaths to protect the second, with some gun deaths. To protect the Second Amendment.
He wasn't lying.
He wasn't lying.
Ironically.
Again, it's wild. So I don't want to take that route and say, oh, unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with some knife deaths or some other form of death in order to get rid of guns and reduce crime. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like the reality is that there's a saying, and I'm going to put it here, that perfection saying, like, don't let perfection ruin progress or something like that, right? Is what I'm saying. And I just think that if we want to be realistic about reducing crime in this country, specifically gun crime, let's be real and let's do what we need to do. We need to have stricter gun laws, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You just have to do it. And we can't let the one-off crimes from bad people deter us from that, because right now, gun crime, like the amount of people that have been saved by guns versus that have just died by bad people from guns is not directly proportional in any way, shape, or form.
At all.
It's completely unproportional.
At all. And if you got rid of guns, the rate of homicides committed by other, other ways is going to go up a little bit, but it's not going to go up proportionally to.
Correct.
It's not going to level off like, we got to get back to this homicide rate.
Correct.
That we had when we had gun violence. It's going to come way down, drastically down.
Yep.
Yes, will knife deaths go up a little bit? Mm-hmm. Will other deaths go up a little bit? Sure. But not anywhere close to.
Not even anywhere close.
Close to what we see with gun violence. So if even as a person who believes in the Second Amendment and exercises that, if they came out and said, "Hey, we're taking all guns," and I know that sounds extremist, and that's very woke thing to do, I'll be like, okay, let's try that.
Yeah.
Because what we've been trying isn't working. And if somebody said, all right, we're taking all guns, and I got to be like, well, what about the people that got, illegal guns? What about them? We'll arrest them. It'll be so easy. If you see somebody, if nobody's supposed to have a gun,
right,
then when I see a gun, it's going to be so easy to go and be like arrested. Now, tell that to Smith & Wesson, tell that to SIG, tell that
they
to
won't
Glock,
let that happen.
All these manufacturers that's making money off this, we're going to cannibalize your business. Like, they ain't trying to hear that.
No.
What, are they going to pivot and go into software? Like, no, that ain't what they're doing. So it's like, I understand why their best interest is to keep selling as many guns as. I guarantee you, if you look at gun sales today, they're going to be up. Yep. And it's
they so profit after a big major gun death or anything like that. Yeah, it's a disgusting fucking beast that we live in.
Absolutely,
it's a monster that we live in.
I mean, and I even say all this to be like come full circle in the sense that my job is literally weapons training, weapons detection. I was just thinking
about that. Yeah.
A lot of it is in schools, like heavily within K through 12 schools, to prevent things that happened, like in Colorado yesterday, from having students bring guns into onto school campuses or into the school building. And it's like
the fact that we're even here.
Yes.
The fact that we have to have a company that does that.
Yes. And
but they're capitalizing on it.
Like all this because of gun violence is something that can easily be solved, but
reduced tremendously. It's never going to be solved, but like reduced tremendously. But like that's where we are in this country, and everything to me revolves around capitalism.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, there's money in there.
If there's money to be had they're going to keep perpetuating the money. And when a problem arises, as opposed to pulling the weed out, they throw a little weed spray on it instead. And so all we do in this country is address symptoms, because no one really wants to get to the root of a problem, because that means the whole industry is going to go downhill.
The solution right now,
and money's going to be, and that's what it is.
The whole industry. But like we said, there's so many other industries that are tied into gun violence. What if you're a funeral home? It sounds sad, but you literally live on death. Less gun violence, less death, less business. Like there's so many things that would, but insurance companies, like all these types of things that tie into these gun violence, and the economics of it, like you said, always follow the money. And that's the reason why I feel like, obviously, I will say that's the reason why I feel like, yeah, of course, there's not going to be anything done.
There's not going to be anything done. Because we care in this country too much more about money than about actually saving lives.
And if you need to protect your money, guess what you need?
You need a gun.
Hey.
Like, that's literally all it comes down to. It's the problem that we have with our policing in this country. It's all of that. People are like, we need more police. We need more police. And it's like, no, we do not need more police. But if you want crime to go down, no, we all want crime to go down. So let's address the root cause. It's about opportunity. It's about socioeconomic issue. Oh, no, we can't do that. That's too much money. But you want to inject another $1 billion into the police budget?
Yeah.
Like, make it make sense to me. Well, no,
we want you to have no opportunity. What do you mean? I don't want you to have no opportunity.
It
takes
goes
away
down.
from me.
It takes away from you, and it takes away from again. It's this scarcity mindset that we all have, that we all live in a zero-sum game. That if I don't get mine, someone else is going to get theirs, without realizing that there actually is more than enough to go around. But that's not the message. That's not the message they're telling us.
Come on. You have trillionaires.
Yeah,
or billionaires. We're gonna have, like, people gonna become trillionaires. Like, for what? But I know that's something that we done harped on before.
But it all ties together. That's what I mean. Like this gun violence and this idea of guns is it all ties together to the bigger beast, which again in my mind is capitalism. Capitalism as the North Star.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Which, unfortunately, there is no solution in sight. If that's the North Star, there is no solution that involves less guns, which means there is no solution that's going to involve less gun violence. And we're in a spin circle.
We are in a crazy spin circle, and it's super unfortunate. But look, at the end of the day, y'all know where I stand. I don't want to have a gun. I don't want to have a gun in this house. I think we should try to remove guns if we can. And it's unfortunate because you're right, because we're saying kind of laughing about it. But like, this shit's been crazy the past 25 years, man.
Yes.
It's been insane, and how numb we have become to it.
Yes.
And then how every time
the laws have gotten lax. Like in Texas, you do not need a license to carry a gun around in public. In Texas, you can just go buy your gun today. No training. Don't know if you know how to use it, load it properly. None of that. Walk out of the store, put it into your waistband, and you can go around in Texas as long as you keep it concealed.
Guns, their primary goal is to hurt and kill. That's what guns are designed for. It's to hurt and kill.
Yeah.
That's all it's behind for.
Efficiently. Hurt and kill.
There is no other objective of a gun.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's the tool.
Like, even people are like, oh, a knife. No, a knife is, well, I guess it depends on the knife, right? But a knife is for cooking or whatever the case is. Different things. You know, but it's like, oh, people are like, oh, you can kill with a car. Well, a car's primary objective isn't to kill, it's to drive. We're talking about guns. Primary objective is to kill efficiently.
If I had to kill somebody, I'm not going to buy a car.
Yeah. I mean, you could, I suppose. But yes, like, that's my point. But like, I don't know. It's interesting. But I mean, those are my thoughts. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on with regards to guns or Second Amendment.
I would love to hear kind of everyone else's, especially, where they reside within the U.S. or the globe, is their thoughts on the Second Amendment, or thoughts on firearm ownership. Because, like I said, for me, as somebody who has experienced gun violence, I'm still like, oh yeah, you should have guns. But I also understand, like I said, if there was a law that said we're going to make it really strict for citizens to own guns, I'm going to abide by that. And I think that would be progress. But until then, this is the world we live in. If my neighbor got one, I better go get one. And that is one of the main reasons that I would say decided to exercise mine. Is like, hold on, wait, everybody around me has them. Shit, I better go get one. I'm gonna be the only one without one. And that's
it's a scary thing because I'll call it a conspiracy theory, had mine or something like that, but like, I don't have a very optimistic view of where we're going as a country in the future.
Ooh,
and I'm not talking about like 20, 30 years in the future. I'm talking about the next 5 years.
Really?
Like 5-10 years. Like, I see a very dystopian society happening. And that terrifies me because we've all already been conditioned to turn on each other, to individualize. And so me personally living here by myself, like, I've thought about this numerous times. If shit really does hit the fans, like, I'm fucked.
Yeah, you got to go to Herb house.
Yeah, I gotta be able to try to get in my car and get to my people's house because I don't know if, again, this comes to that they've made us not trust each other.
Yes.
Like if shit collapses, people are gonna the movies, all these like apocalyptic movies, like this shit's real. Like, people will turn on each other. No one's gonna help anyone out. Like, you get your close band of friends, and then you
Walking
like,
Dead over here.
Yeah, it's literally Walking Dead shit, and that does scare me. And that is the one thing that sometimes makes me think, like, man, I need to have a couple of guns, because if it's just me and Choco on these streets, like, but that's such a shitty thing to think.
I think the only thing, it's gonna sound funny. The only thing that keeps me from thinking that apocalyptic incident will happen is capitalism. There's too much money involved. If that happens, there's no more money.
Yeah,
so the
true.
reason why they're not going to let that happen is they don't want to mess up their money. So they'll let it go to a certain extent.
It's a good point.
To where they be like, if it got out of control and starting to jeopardize their money, they're going to be like, no, you guys, we got to take that back and get things under control and get back to making this money so I can keep this power. But it does, like, just think like that apocalyptic scene happening in the U.S. does the people in power no good.
Yeah.
And there's no money to be involved in that. So that's the one, like, literally the one thing that I feel like keeps me from thinking that, it's going to all come to a head, or there's going to be like this civil unrest, or it's going to be just get crazy out here, is that there's too much money involved. People that are not willing to sacrifice that.
It's a good point. It's a good point. It might be the only place where we get saved. But in conclusion, y'all, man, just like, we need to stop not trusting each other. Don't let these motherfuckers separate us, man. That's all they're trying to do is separate us.
That's
man.
the biggest
Hardcore.
thing. At the end of the day, I think that's the biggest thing that you and I definitely we want people to take away is like, it is not you and I against each other. It's us against them, and the them ain't the radical left or the radical right or progressives or conservatives or Democrats or liberals or independents. It ain't a red or a blue. That ain't the them and the us. The us is the people that are, regular citizens versus the people that are in power who are feeding us these propagandas to keep us down and convincing us that it is us against each other while they're living as billionaires.
Lavish.
Private, like they don't own guns like this. Like, I mean, they probably own guns, but they're not carrying around
They're
guns.
not
They're not
shooting.
worrying about gun violence. That ain't what they're worried about.
Yeah.
So until now, maybe, I don't know. I didn't. At the events yesterday, people kind of look shaken up, but
yeah, that's one of those things.
That's real.
That's wild. All right, well, I think that's a good place to end it there from that perspective. We got to go into some things that we want to learn. I think you went last time. Would you like me to go this time? Do you want to go first? I'm trying to think what I'm even going to talk about, because I pulled up a couple of things around the gun stuff. We touched on it. I'm thinking like, should I continue talking about that? I'm not really sure, but I think one thing that I found interesting, and I'm hesitant to say this because this goes against all the other, all the sayings from right wing gun nuts who are like, it's mental health and it's not necessarily all the guns we have, and it's like, well, we have all these countries that don't have guns and the gun violence is low, but you know who has actually more guns? One of the few nations with a higher rate of gun ownership per capita than the United States. You'll never guess this country. Crazy.
I'm just a little wild guess after Australia.
No, Australia has no guns. They're very strict with their gun laws. But it's another country they'll always talk about being very neutral. Switzerland.
What?
Switzerland is one of the few nations with a higher per capita rate of gun ownership than the United States. Yet, they have virtually no gun crime.
What do you think contributes to that?
So there's an argument from the pro-gunners that are like, America doesn't need gun control. Look at how Switzerland can do it. Let's be honest. The reality is it is a smaller populated country. I know we're talking about per capita.
Much smaller.
But it's a least populated a country.
Yep.
But they don't really know. I have a study pulled up right now. They don't actually really know what the situation is. In the entire study, they go through like the history of guns, starting from when they gained independence in 1291 from like Austria, and they're like talking about all of this from this perspective. I think the reality is, and again, this is just me. I haven't looked it up, but Switzerland has a lower rate of the wealth gap is a lot lower. Yes. Most people in Switzerland are doing pretty well. Now you also hear of the Swiss bank accounts. Like, there's a lot of rich people there too, but like the wealth gap is much smaller. The diversity is much different too. There's much different too. Lack of diversity, which is a lot harder to put people against each other.
Absolutely.
And again, so this goes back to a diversity thing. And also a wealth gap thing. So now there's not so much of the rich pointing down to the poor and be like, oh, it's that poor. It's a lot small. So I think that also contributes to it. And when people feel like their government is working for them, and when they feel like they can move forward in life, there is less mental anguish. There is less reason to find a scapegoat to point at for why their lives are miserable. That's not to say that Switzerland doesn't have any poor people. It's not to say that that there still isn't any marginalized communities there. There is. I just think there's a lot less than there is here. And again, this is just me thinking. I don't know. I'll look it up. We can put some facts up there, but that's kind of what my thoughts are.
That's honestly what I was thinking. And I think I've seen or people talk about this before, but like, yeah, Switzerland just not a very diverse, much smaller. A lot of the people, of the same ethnicity, same background, same culture. Then they don't have that driving wedge of us against them. It's like all of us trying to do better against them. And I mean, look where they're surrounded by. Like, I mean, they have a lot of other countries around them
that look like the biggest
one,
and they look like them.
It's even like we ain't got time to be fighting in with each other because we ain't that big to be.
True.
We ain't big enough to have that going on. Where you like live in America, you have so much diversity, so it's a much larger country where we have time. We have the capacity to be us versus them internally. So I think that would be me just throwing in my expert or lack of expert opinion there.
I think it's a good one.
Yep.
I think it's a good one.
Perfect. And then just to tie off the gun thing, so mine is today is actually going to be around gun homicides amongst the countries that are G20 countries. So like the countries that we kind of think of like the first world countries.
Gun homicides or homicides in general?
Firearm homicides.
Okay.
And as far as America, where does America rank in the G20 when it comes to firearm homicides? 10th. 10th. Who do you think is the I mean, you kind of went into some of the top ones when it comes to, I'll just read them out. Some of the top ones when it comes to the least amount of firearm homicides in the G20, starting with South Korea. You mentioned those, Japan, like these Asian countries, United Kingdom, Germany's fourth, which is kind of surprising. You would think that the Germans
they have a fourth. I think they have strict gun laws though.
Same. France, Austria, Italy, Canada, Argentina, which has gotten a lot of news here lately, and then the United States, they're at 10th.
Then who's got more gun rate violence than us?
So below us, Brazil at 11, Mexico.
Okay, that actually makes sense. I forgot they're G20.
Yep. Gosh, it don't give me the rest of the list. Oh, sorry, Russia, Turkey, South Africa, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia.
That actually makes sense. Russia, there's a war there. They're run by oligarchs. That makes a lot of sense. Brazil, there's just a lot of street violence in Brazil, for sure. Similar to here, Mexico, the cartel plays a large part in that. That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay.
But also larger country. I mean, geographically speaking.
We're still,
larger country,
but population-wise, we're the third most populous country in the world.
Yes. But I'm saying,
so those are below us, even though Brazil's pretty massive. Russia's decent, but I think it definitely all comes down to certain wars that might be happening in certain countries and just a different type of.
Absolutely.
All right, man. That was it's good to know, bro.
Well, hey, we did it again. It's interesting to have this conversation on a day like today. All you out there, be safe. Be safe. And hopefully we can get some progress to this. Unfortunately, thoughts and prayers is
I hate to keep saying thoughts and prayers, but so we are. Peace.